So I just clicked record. Did you hear that? It's said
Yes.
open or something. Okay, we're good to go. All right. Well, Sarah from NYC, thanks for taking the time. We're just doing this series, right, to have teachers talk about their experience with Pickcode and everything. And so you're kindly taking some time out of your prep, which I appreciate. And so this is your office.
Yes. I share it actually with my supervisor, um, but I use it for things like this. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, we were noting that it's like a historic school building, so the door looks kind
Yeah,
of.
Curtis was built in 1904, and it is the first high school in Staten Island, I believe. Mhm.
Okay.
Consolidation of New York City. Oh, first high school since the consolidation of New York City?
There was a school built by the same architect or East
Uh-huh.
Borough to signify the consolidation of New York City.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There was my boss is saying there's a school built at each borough in the same style to signify the consolidation of New York City. And you can't see it from here, but Curtis High School actually has this really cool Gothic architecture. And so we call it the Castle on the Hill. We're overlooking New York Harbor. So my classroom faces New York Harbor, and I watch the shipping, the container ships going by, looking out over the skyline and Newark.
That's very
Very
cool.
nice.
Fun fact, I have a twin brother, and he lives on Staten Island.
No
So
way.
I need to go visit him and then go see this crazy high school with the castle, good view. So yeah. Anyways, cool. So maybe just by way of like introduction, I'm curious. I've talked to a few people now for our YouTube channel or whatever. Everyone has a different way that they got into teaching computer science, and so maybe people have like switched different subjects or switched from all sorts of things. So how did you get started? What
So
was your,
my primary license was mathematics. I started teaching in 2003 through the New York City Teaching Fellows Program. Around 2015, there was a huge push in New York City to start broadening participation in computer science, called CS for All. And so I think the first thing I went to was a training course, an introductory course called Exploring Computer Science. But soon after that, they launched the College Board, sort of as part of the CS for All movement, launched AP Computer Science Principles, which is designed to be sort of a welcoming, creative, softer introduction to computer science with the explicit goal of broadening participation among women and minorities. And I was privileged to go through like a summer and a year of training with these great guys from UC Berkeley who developed the SNAP programming platform
oh,
and a
cool.
curriculum
Yeah,
to
I've
go with
heard of
it.
that. Yeah.
It was so much fun. I met so many great teachers, and I loved the platform. Um, uh, I taught AP Computer Science Principles then after around, I think starting in 2016, just like one section. And then I've slowly started to teach computer science as my full schedule, as well as developing a computer science track at Curtis High School that was recently approved by the state as a CTE program.
No way. That's awesome. So you kind of like just slowly but surely built out. So it was like one CS and a bunch of math, and then a few CS and a couple of math, and now so
Yeah,
your
right.
whole
It sort
day
of
is
evolved into a whole, yeah.
computer science now.
Yeah, I teach 4 instead of 5 classes because I'm the coordinator of our
Okay.
Software Engineering Institute, and do things. So I have time to do things like this.
Okay, yeah, that's really neat. And so, but now, so we email back and forth a lot about different things, and your feedback has been very helpful. But it seems like you're teaching Java now, so you teach the CSA course as well.
Right, and
Do you
that's what I'm
still teach
using.
Principal?
So I'm not teaching principles this year, but I will next year. So we're getting our sort of sequence rolling so that, with it, kids are able to go through the entire sequence. I'm going to have to like vary what I teach. So this year I'm teaching AP Computer Science A to kids that already took CSP, and but only in one section. My other 3 classes are a course that I'm kind of piloting and developing that is, I call computer science with physical applications, where everything we do has some kind of physical output.
So
I
you're
have
doing like microbits or something?
yeah. So one section is with these hummingbird robotics kits that use a microbit, but then it comes with all these like motors and wheels and whatnot to make it, and which actually integrates with the Snap programming platform.
Ah,
Um,
cool.
Another unit is I do CS and art, and a big thing is there's Snap actually has a sister site called Turtle Stitch that allows you to download designs that you make into a format an embroidery machine can read and execute. And then I've also broadened that to use a Cricut, which is a precision cutting tool to make like stickers and stuff. So I've done all this stuff with the kids are making embroidery designs. And then we have a class set of Vex V5 robots, Clawbots,
Do you
and
have the so
seven
do you
seven.
have the Vex bots that you have to put together, or do you have the little ones?
I have the big ones that you have to put together,
Like,
and that
did
was
you put them together, or did the
so the
students?
kids did. I piloted it last year, and strangely, I let this like real rough class that was like so unengaged do it, and they got really engaged with putting them together, and they did a great job. It was a little hard to get them to actually code the robots, to do anything besides drive them with a remote control. And then I asked them to take it apart, which they did a great job doing, thinking like it's so fun to build it. But then this year the building was a disaster, and I ended up having to like, luckily a bunch of kids helped me, but like, on off periods after school, like finish them, fix them. So moving forward, we'll just kind of keep them built, and the kids will just have to like repair or maybe make a little modifications. But yeah, that was a big, the putting them together was a big deal.
So my very long 2-year teaching career, the first year the school had purchased a curriculum and there was a robotics unit that used Vex, but the grant came in late and we were supposed to get these little ones that you don't have to
Mm,
put together. It's the same brain, it's the same programming, but they just drive around and they have 2 wheels and it's meant for like more of a coding classroom than a robotics
yeah,
classroom.
yeah,
Those were supposed to arrive and it was like coming around Thanksgiving time. I was supposed to start the Vex unit and like we were doing App Inventor. Everyone was getting bored of App Inventor. I was like, the
yeah.
robots are coming soon. We're gonna do the robots. Everyone wanted the robots. But so like they wouldn't show up, these
You get
little
these like
ones.
all these
And so I
parts.
had to go, I went down to the robotics teacher and I knew that they had some Vex V5 ones that we could code in the same way, but they hadn't built them yet. So she was like, you can take 10 boxes of these Vex V5 robots, but they're big. They're like
Yeah,
metal.
yeah, they're like,
They're like, and you have to screw them together. And so it was like, okay, but like I wasn't going to do the building in my class because it's
yeah.
not a robotics classroom. There's no desk space. It was just a bunch of iMacs. And so after school, for hours and hours and hours
Yeah,
all
yeah,
together. It took forever.
yeah.
I bought one kid Dunkin' Donuts so that he would help me, and that was nice. But still, it took us forever. We made like 7 of them. And
Mhm.
then I did one lesson. They were huge. The kids figured out how to make them zoom around the class. They were like smashing into the
The
walls.
the default speed setting is really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a day later, the little ones show up. And so
Well,
then I
you
just
did the
threw,
yeah.
yeah. So then I threw them all in the closet. And then on the last day of school, I had to take them all apart and give them back to the robotics teacher.
Oh man.
And nobody was there
Yeah.
to help me with that. So I was pulling apart the little like screws.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. Like this kind of rough class last year, they did a great job. And then the class this year, like just these kids just couldn't like, there's a lot of visualization and like hand-eye coordination involved in it. And like I did one at home and it took me about 4 hours really. Like I used my kids helped me a little bit, and it was, I was kind of like, getting a little confused with directions and stuff. But and then the arm assembly with the arm is really
Oh,
tricky. And like they do that wrong over and over, and then it would fall apart and the like shafts would come out of the motor. It's yeah, it's a big task. But I luckily this year I had a couple kids that kind of acted as technicians, and they like the hands-on much better than the coding, and so I just rely on them. They fix them real quick, and they've kind of become experts at it.
yeah. I
But anyway,
think,
so that course has been a very like different experience.
yeah.
I did get a set of drones, these little mini drones, and like I'm gonna try again next week, but oh man.
Like little drones that are supposed to fly around the class.
Yeah.
I don't know about
There
that.
was some blood the first day.
I wouldn't, that's see, so like everybody's got their own preference, and I found this with the students too. Is like some kids and some people they can't stand using the computer, and they only
Mhm.
care and they only get motivated if it's driving around with a robot. It's something they can really see in the class. But me personally, I hate robots. I hate circuits. I hate
I get
electricity.
bored of it quickly,
Get
honestly,
really
too.
bored.
Yeah.
I get really frustrated. I just want code. And
Yeah.
so that's, I mean, that's why I do what I do with Pickcode and everything. It's like, that's where we want to find ways to make programming on the computer more engaging and more accessible and everything like that. But we have no plans to do any robotic stuff because
Yeah.
I hate robots. Yeah, I just can't.
Yeah, most of the kids are pretty engaged with the Vex robots and with the other things, but like for me, like I took a week-long training at Carnegie Mellon last June to learn about the Vex, and I was like, all right, okay, like I was so done with the little puzzles, like okay, the robot's driving around and moving, and I'm like I lost interest quickly. I like more of the math and problem solving and algorithms of computer science.
Yeah, everyone's a little bit different though. Cool. So, I mean, we started chatting in like August or September. Do you remember how did you find Pickcode and why did you find Pickcode and how did that all get started?
So the big thing was is that Replit was what I had used in the past, but they've kind of shut down their free services, and they've made it a lot harder to launch it. Like I would have the kids were making new Replits all the time, and now I think they are allowed like three different like Replits. You can do a whole lot of stuff within that Replit and have like a whole file system, but then I wouldn't have been able to like just keep pushing out lessons with starter code. It was clearly to me, it was like Replit's over for classroom use. And people have told me about an education Replit for education feature, like a Teams feature, but that where you could assign groups, but that apparently has been phased out. So, I was looking for a new platform to, for kids to practice in. I don't like code, CS Awesome is great and they have their little active code and then like Code HS, Code.org, they all have their own places to do things, but like I as a teacher, like I just can't do a canned curriculum that much. Like it's just sucks the creativity out. And so I pick code is like so open-ended. So I actually heard about it from Michael Szymanski, a Hunter
Oh,
professor.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
He sent it out as like an option. And what I found was it's just so clean and easy to get started in. I didn't really need to look at any instructions. It was just clean, user-friendly, no problem. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, but I also experimented with JuiceMind and I was just like, got bogged down and confused. Their videos on YouTube didn't really match their current updates. It had so many bells and whistles that I'm just like, no, I just want something that is easy to use for the kids to do lessons and practice. Um, and then I got in touch with you, and you were really nice about letting me use it pretty much all year for free. And luckily, we finally got your DoD
We
vendor
got that
license.
all figured out.
Yeah.
That's
The next thing is the IRMA.
no, that's all done. That's all
So you
set.
did the IRMA?
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kids can log in with Google now?
You would
Is
have
that
to,
what it is?
yeah, we need to work that out for like next year, how we would,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to,
Like I can. It's weird. I was always able to sign in with Google, but the kids
yeah,
couldn't.
yeah.
Nobody's complaining about it.
We still need to
They get
work out
info.
the login with Google, but like if there are any New York City teachers who happen to be stumbling upon this video on YouTube, yes, we are approved. We got the
Yeah.
official notification or whatever from them. It was a difficult process, but it was a
Yeah.
good. I will spin it positively. It was a learning
Just because
experience.
you got the approval doesn't mean it'll work. Because I was with the drones, there's this platform called Drone Blocks, and they thought they were IRMA approved, but my kids were not able to log in with Google.
Yeah, it might be two separate steps. It might be
Yeah.
there might be someone I have to
Yeah.
notify that says, "Hey, we're Irma, whatever. Can we get the lot?" But we'll get that figured out.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the kind words about Pickcode, but you ran into many bugs with Pickcode. Like a lot of stuff didn't work, and so how was that experience? I don't know. I mean, I appreciate your patience with everything, but like, frankly, out of everyone who's used Pickcode, you might have run. You're probably tied in the, if it was the Olympics of finding bugs in Pickcode, you would be on the pedestal, and at least you'd get at least a bronze medal.
Well,
Um,
the only one that was really like a problem in the classroom, I think, was very early on, and it was just not loading. It was the loading time was really long, and it kept signing out, and that was like, I can't use this like this. But I contacted you, and you had it fixed within the same day, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to someone else. Like at the very beginning of the school year, we just had way more students on
Mhm.
than we'd ever had before, and so we had to like upgrade our server stuff. So I was sitting there like all day looking at the graphs and the charts and saying how slow is it or whatever, and we have to restart this and do that. But yeah, I do appreciate the patience with that because we were terrified. We were like, oh my gosh, all these teachers came on and they were using Replit and now we're supposed to, we want to help them out and then they're getting logged out and all this loading time. But everyone is super patient. I don't think anyone like just quit on us and we do respond quickly. And I mean, as
Yeah,
a person who like I was in the classroom and I used to use Replit and like there were just whole days where it would go out, right? There was no one to email, right? I mean, there was no one who was
mhm.
going to respond to an email about that.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. You're not contacting anybody for Replit. And this drone blocks thing, like I was going nuts. These drones were not working as I thought they would. And you gotta like make an appointment on Calendly the next day and then, log in. And I don't know, like whereas you've responded to every email I've sent within an hour usually.
Yeah, I like to not promise that amount of response
Yeah.
time, but
Well,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I mean, the good thing is, right, you're on the East Coast, like, and I start my work early. I'm still
Hmm.
on a teacher
Yeah,
schedule where I start working at 7:30. And so basically every time you email me, I'm at my desk. If you do email me in the middle of the night, I'm deep asleep.
yeah, I
So
know, yeah.
that's not
During
gonna
the
work
school
out.
day.
But during the school day, it's pretty, I'm usually at my desk. So
Luckily reached the point in my career where I am not planning lessons in the middle of the night anymore.
that's good. That's good. So currently you use Pickcode for CSA stuff, and so you do
Mhm.
Java. But you've asked me a few times about different like pygame things. So it sounds like you
Yeah.
have some plans to do some Python stuff next year. How's that all going to work? What's the game plan?
Well, I do want to point out that I did ask you to install like the Java graphics packages
Yeah,
be able to
yeah.
do some like turtle stuff, and you did that very, within like a
Yeah,
week or so.
everybody wanted that, like the CS Awesome one, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody wanted that. So
Yeah.
we had to make sure we got that.
So I have for several years taught AP CSP using the Beauty and Joy computing curriculum and the Snap block-based programming platform. Um, However, I have been getting a lot of feedback from students that they really want to be doing a typed programming at that point, and that they want to learn Python because it is, it's an industry standard. And I've had some kids actually drop the class because they're
Oh
like,
wow.
this is baby stuff, it's blocks. Now, Snap is amazing. You can do really high level programming, and the intention of the course is to welcome people and allow them to see how creative you can be with programming. And kids will just can be browsing the blocks menus and figure things out, and they're just doing all this cool stuff. But I do want to honor that, and I've been also there's some changes to the CSP exam have made it kind of hard to meet the requirements of the create task using Snap, because just the way they ask the questions, it's like these debug questions about debugging that just don't happen in Snap, because you don't really need to debug Snap except in very rare instances. So what I want to do is like setting myself kind of high standard here is kind of like write my own CSP class, but in Python using the sort of aesthetic and like the vision of the beauty and joy of computing curriculum, where it's visual, it's friendly, it's fun. And there's a great book up there called Coding Games in Python. They have a Coding Games in Scratch, and it's just a great like manual of
We
like,
I don't want to leave the Zoom window because I'm gonna mess up the recording, but I need to remember to ask you. So there's a book creating games in Python,
Yeah, it's called Coding Games in Python.
and it's like all about pygame or something.
Yeah, it's all in it's yes, it's so it's all in pygame. And so you can have like sprites and act, what they're called actors there. And it's a sequence of games. So each game gets more and more complicated. So it's introducing most of the ideas of the curriculum, maybe probably not some of the like more mathy stuff. And CSP also has like you're supposed to be, you do binary and like computing in the news and how the internet works, whatever. That's again, but I want to have like a game-driven Python CSP curriculum is what my vision is. Using a lot of inspiration from Beauty and Joy of Computing. And so I wanted Pickcode at the time didn't have that Pygames and PG0, which is also needed to run. And you very graciously added that, and I gave it a quick try, and it works. So
Well,
I'm looking,
the reason I'm
building.
excited about the book is that a teacher emailed me the other day being like, do you have any resources for me to do Pygame like lessons? Do you have any Pygame lessons? And I was like, no, I do not. I tried, like, I just did a little bit of Googling about
Mhm.
books, but
Yeah, if
after
you go,
this,
it's on Amazon. It's also, if they are a DOE teacher, I believe it's on Shop DOE.
oh, okay, yeah, they're in like Kentucky or something.
And there's even, I believe, you can find a PDF of it.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah.
I felt like I should buy a class set but they're, I
Oh, you're
believe
on
it
a
is.
class set. Okay,
It's
very
just
nice.
it's straight up called Coding Games in Python.
Well, I could Google that, I guess, but
And it's green. Yeah,
well, I'm
it's
gonna
on
use my,
Amazon,
again, I don't want to
$12.69. It's really,
um,
yeah, it's great.
okay.
I had really loved their coding games in Scratch book, which I would do in Snap instead. But it's just like this great progression of skills.
Well, I figured out how to send myself an email to remind myself without leaving the Zoom window because I have a cell phone. So I figured that out. So I'm gonna be able to send it over. That's actually great info. So it sounds like so
Yeah,
you're
like
gonna
you just
combine.
kind of gotta minimize Zoom, like press that little button, and then you can have another window open.
I'm terrified. Okay, I don't want to take someone's
Don't
whole
want to
prep
mess this up.
period and
Yeah.
then be like, oh, we have to whatever. I mean,
I've got another
I
window open.
use computers a lot, but for whatever
Yeah.
reason, I'm not
No,
very.
no, using a particular software is totally different than like, um,
Yeah, yeah. Um, Cool. So I mean, that sounds like an exciting plan. So I mean, I guess you're gonna develop a lot of lessons over the summer, or you're already working on stuff, or how's that gonna happen?
yeah, the goal is over the summer. Yeah, that, uh, I don't really have much to do over the summer, so
Got it. Well, so we
work
got
on
to
that
make
like a
sure that
few
we
hours
get
a day.
those.
Also, I have to learn Python. I only know it at the, like, I don't know it very well, so.
So we do have in Pickcode. I don't know if you've noticed in the shared with you folder, there is like I would call them more demo lessons than anything. I wouldn't run a class off of them because they're so short and they're so easy.
Mhm.
They're like copy paste this code in, change a little bit, press play.
Mhm.
But if you read all of this stuff in there, I think it's actually a reasonably good introduction to Python, and we get through most everything that you would want to know about the basics to get productive.
So
So
where is shared with you?
on your lessons tab, should say shared with you,
Oh,
and then
I
there's
never
a
really, I
folder.
never clicked that. I think I maybe did once.
Yeah, and so
Um,
Python, there's a Python folder there, and it's got a bunch of different topics.
oh,
And
okay.
so then you can go
Great.
through
Yeah.
and on any
And
of
I
those
can
lessons.
then assign those to kids.
Yeah,
Also,
again,
can I look?
like they're so easy that a high school kid would be able to finish them in like 4 or 5 minutes. But for
Mhm,
you, if you're just trying to look for a resource to do some basic introduction to some topics,
mhm.
you could certainly go and
And
assign
maybe
those.
it'd be a good shell to like, I haven't learned how to do the real lesson feature, where like you are kind of,
Oh, the fancy lesson feature?
yeah, where you're like using buttons and stuff to drive it. So maybe this would help give me,
Yeah, yeah, we'll help with that too. We're gonna make
yeah,
we have plans, a lot of
link
plans about
down.
YouTube to make some more videos to explain how to
Yeah.
use it or whatever.
This year has been more about like refining my CSA curriculum because my first time 2 years ago was a disaster. And I'm running the robotics type class. I have 3 sections and I'm staggering what I'm doing. So I'm like and I don't even know what I'm doing. So like my head's been spinning with all that this year.
Yeah, no worries at all. Well, I'm glad that the Pickcode bugs have hopefully, I mean, they've generally subsided, right? So,
Yeah, no, it's been working very smoothly.
yeah,
This
so
last one.
that's good that we can at least get that problem out of the way, and get focused there. Well, I don't want to take too much of your prep time. Do you have any other closing thoughts, questions? I don't know.
Well, yeah, sure. I was planning to do a little more talking up.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, by all means.
Like I said before, like getting started with it, like it's so clean and user friendly. Nothing confusing. I just clicked around and was able to get going. But I would say as a teacher, the number one feature is the ability to just toggle through the students' lessons instead of having to like open link after link after link, like I did in Replit. Like I'd have to open this link and then open that link. And then
Weird that they
that
can,
drop down
yeah.
toggling through is gold.
I don't know why nobody else made that. I was just like, if you're an English teacher and you assign a paper in Google Docs,
Yeah. You
flip
just,
through the students.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
why don't we? I don't know. I don't know why people don't
Yeah.
have that. But
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
the checking the history at first, I was like, yeah, but I just recently I got so annoyed at my class. They're supposed to be working in pairs, but really it's, one kid doing all the work and the other one submitting it 2 minutes before the deadline by cutting and pasting it. So I started ranting at them that from now on, I'm going to be looking through the history and I'd like be able to tell them quite honestly, I can see every second of what you did. And if like, I can see that you cut and pasted all at 11:54 on, Sunday night, and that, or like you were supposed to have been collaborating, I can see that only Derek did any of the coding in this. So, I kind of gave them a big rant to try to get them to like up their game a little. Cause I do, like there's 3 or 4 programmers in the class that are just, head above the others. And
yeah.
they,
That always I was
things
talking about
happened.
that with some other teacher, and it was my experience as well. The range of skills that students come into a computer science class with are crazy. I think it's one of the biggest challenges of teaching computer science is that
Mhm.
like some students have never programmed before, and that's totally okay. That's what we all expect, and that's who we expect to teach. But then
But
some,
then there are ones who've never programmed before, but they just get it. And
yeah,
they're like on
and
fire. And they're like last year I had this student that he was in my CSP class with Snap and he came into the class like 2 weeks late, claimed he had never programmed before and was just doing amazing things immediately. And that's where like having that like choice of things, and he was figuring things, finding all these features I didn't even know about. And then he started just tinkering with Java on his own. And without even taking the class, he got a 5 on both AP exams that year. And he claimed he had never coded before.
yeah, I mean, so
Um,
either the student is lying or there's
yeah,
something weird about how programming works. I don't know, but
yeah, they just get it.
or yeah, I mean, and then there's some students who write like they're somehow they got exposed to this at age 6 and they've
Mhm.
just been coding since age 6 and like
Yeah,
they
that'll
come
be my son. He's been coding in Lua since like,
okay, yeah,
age
doing like
6.
robots or something. Yeah.
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 So like, he'll just understand it. So, and of course, your responsiveness and you're quickly fixing bugs and adding features has been amazing and just kind of fun. I feel like I have a colleague and it's nice to feel like you're, you know, in touch with other people that are in your computer science network. So I asked the students before I left for this morning what they liked about it, and they loved how easy it is to use the sandbox. They were like, they'll like tinker with things. So maybe we're, practicing a free response question. We're just, you don't really need to test it, but like, or we're just doing something that's more like handwritten and talking about it, but they'll like just be trying things out and tinker around and testing code on their own in the sandbox and how easy it is to get one started. One pair was like, well, the last long project that we did, we tried to set up a Replit to collaborate through, but they got bogged down with like importing this and that, and it kept giving them all these error messages. So they just went back to the sandbox and there was no issue. So they like it as well. I think they appreciate how quick and smooth it is.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, I mean, is there anything that, because I mean, we don't always get a chance to talk live. Are there any things that you're looking for? Any little minor hiccups? Someone told me the other day they weren't able to delete a folder or something. We were able to figure that out. Is there anything on your mind there? What little small things?
There's two small things. One,
Okay.
I don't like that in order to rename their files, they have to, you like can't do it from the tab. You have to click the like 3-line menu thing and then right click on the name there. Be nice if they could rename files like from the, I'm not like, yeah, there's just something
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little
like
like,
the top,
yeah,
you want
yeah,
that
like
dot,
somehow
dot,
like
dot.
click there and rename or something instead of having to go in that sidebar.
I
And
think that's
then
makes
maybe
sense.
I'm doing something wrong, but like when I'm creating a file or something, or like I'm trying to organize what's in the starter code and what's not, it can be a little awkward, especially when I was like putting all the like turtle
Oh, yeah,
packages in from CS Awesome, and like they're just like they were like this long.
yeah.
It was actually like I had to create like a folder starting with Z, so it was at the bottom, so I could drag it in because I couldn't drag it. I don't know. It was just there's
Yeah, no,
something awkward about the like dragging files into and out of folders.
I can see what you're saying there. Yeah, that's I see what you're saying. Well, the dot dot
Yeah.
dot thing is just a straight up good idea. And then the folder awkward thing, I agree. And
It's like you can't drag up somehow.
yeah, it needs to like some program like if in Google Docs you want to drag something, it'll like scroll the list, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we need to do something like that. It's
Yeah.
another good idea. Well, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
I
Many
mean,
people will be struggling. Yeah.
yeah, our
Um,
thing is we want to, make sure that we're prioritizing stuff that people actually use and need. So yeah, I mean, that
and
makes
this
sense.
I have this idea, and this is I imagine would be a much larger programming challenge from your end, but like part of what makes Snap so nice is that palette of options. And like in Vex, in the Code V5 environment, they have all the available C++ plans in like a side panel, and they can actually drag them out. And so I feel like it would be great to have that for Python,
Yeah, like
especially with the yeah.
drag out an if statement and it
Or
kind of
even if it started out with not even being able to drag, like, just like it, kids are, oh, sorry, you'll have to edit that out.
oh no, it's all good.
Oh, you didn't hear the bell ringing.
No,
So
no, no.
kids
I
are able
actually
to experiment in Snap because they can just see all the available commands, and they can, like, a smart kid will just look at like what is this command? Oh, I bet I could use it to do this. But in Python and Java, like, you just sort of have to know the commands or been introduced to them. I know there's documentation and stuff that you can scroll through, but it'd be kind of nice to have like many of the basic, at least to start with, like a lot of the basic commands sort of very visible within the environment.
it's interesting. I mean, I haven't super thought about that, but it makes
Yeah.
sense. It's something we need to think about. One of the biggest challenges, right, is your students are on Chromebooks, right?
No, in my classroom, they're in on desk PCs, like
Oh,
big
okay,
desktop
cool.
PCs.
One of the big
The ones the school gives them to take home are Chromebooks, which
okay,
I
yeah.
hate. I hate Chromebooks.
Yeah. It's just so tough. Like those Chromebook screens are so small. So
Yeah.
whenever we're designing a new thing, I shrink my window to be the size of a Chromebook window, and then I'm like, how would we fit all the stuff on the screen? But
They don't seem to mind that kind of thing. Like I have kids that'll work on their Chromebooks, even though they have this like giant desktop
oh,
with a
weird.
touchscreen available to them. And I'm like, I'm in my late 40s. I can't see. Like I'm always like, stop working on the Chromebook. Like I don't like I just because of that, it's all tiny, but it doesn't seem to bother them very much.
Yeah, it's interesting. Um, all right. Well, we covered a lot here. Any last thoughts? I don't want to cut anybody off, but I know you need to get back and do some planning and stuff like that.
No, it's just been a really smooth and enjoyable experience to use Pickcode.
Yeah. Well, I
I
really
look
appreciate
forward to
you,
learning more about it.
the kind
Not
of
that
work.
like lesson code features.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Um, Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for chatting. I'm gonna hit stop recording and then I'll thank you again for hanging out. And then we'll post
Okay.
this on YouTube and you'll be able to see it and
So yeah, edit
yeah,
it, please.
we'll
Yeah.
figure it out. Okay. Cool.
All
All right.
right.
I'm gonna hit stop now.